Good morning, I'm Jose Rivera. I am in 11th grade and I am going to explain the parts of the book and the literary elements. Introduction. Very detailed information is going to be explained about parts of the book and the literary elements. Parts of the book. The structure of a book is divided into two essential segments, the front matter and the back matter. In this direct will dismember the structure of a book, covering which components a distributor can incorporate in their last product. The front matter. What does this mean? The front matter of a book consists of its very first pages, the title page, copyright page, table of contents, and more. There may also be a preface by the author or a foreword by someone familiar with their work. Thus, many readers will skip right over it. The front matter contains some pretty important information about the book's author and publisher. Title page. The full title and author's name as they appear on the cover. We also have the frontispiece, a decorative illustration or photo on the page next to the title page. Typically goes on the left. Accolades, quotes from esteemed reviewers and publication in praise of this book. This praise often appears on the back covers as well. Copyright page, also called a colophon, the copyright page includes technical information about copyright, edition dates, typefaces, ISBN, as well as your publisher and printer. Dedication page. A page where the author names the person or people to whom they dedicate their book and why. This typically comes after the copyright page. Table of contents. A list of chapter headings and the page number where they begin. The table of contents, abbreviated TOC, should list all major sections that follow it, both body and back matter. We also have the epigraph, which is a quote that indicates the book's subject matter. The epigraph can be taken from another book, a poem, a song, or almost any source. It usually comes immediately before the first chapter. We also have the preface, which is an introduction written by the author. A preface relates how the book came into being or provides context for the current edition. We also have the foreword, which is an introduction written by another person, usually a friend, family member, or scholar of the author's work. The body. The body of a book is pretty self-explanatory. The main text that goes between the front matter and back matter for readers and writers alike. This is where the magic happens. The following is just for fiction books. The prologue. This is a section just before the main story begins. A prologue aims to set the stage and intrigue the reader. Indeed, many prologues contain intriguing events that only become contextualized later in the story. Introduction, just for non-fiction. A few pages that usher the reader into the subject matter. The intro goes over early events of information related to the main narrative, so the reader has a solid footing before they begin. Chapters. Every single book has chapters, or at least sections, into which the narrative is divided. These chapters may not be designed by a chapter heading or appear into a TOC. Some authors start a new chapter just by using page breaks. The epilogue. This is a event that wraps up the story in a satisfying manner. An epilogue often takes place sometime in the future. Alternatively, if there are more books to come in the series, the epilogue may raise new questions or hint at what will happen in the next book. The conclusion for non-fiction books. A section that sums up the core ideas and concepts of the text. Explicitly labeled conclusions are becoming less common in non-fiction books, which commonly offer final thoughts in the last chapter, but academic this may still be formatted this way. We also have the afterword, which is any other final notes of the book. They can be written by the author or by someone they know. The postscript, which is a brief final comment after the narrative comes to an end, usually just a sentence or two. For example, Matthew died at sea in 1807, but his memory lived on. The back matter. The back matter, also known as the end matter, is the material found at the back of the book. Authors use their back matter to offer readers further context or information about the story. Thus, back matter can also be extremely simple, sometimes just a quick mention of the author's website or a note from the publisher. Acknowledgement. This is one element of the back matter, a section to acknowledge and thank all of those who contribute to the book's creation. About the author. This is where the author gives a brief summary of their previous work, education, and professional life. Copyright permission. If the author has sought permission to reproduce some lyrics, artwork, or extend excerpts from other books, they should be attributed here. The next one is discussion questions. Thought-provoking questions and prompts about the book, intended for use in an academic content or for book club, appendix or addendum. Additional details or updated information relevant to the book, especially if it is a newer edition. Chronology or timeline. List of events in sequential order which may be helpful for the reader, especially if the narrative is presented out of order. A chronology is sometimes part of the appendix. Endnotes, supplementary notes that relate to specific passages of the text, and denoted within the body by superscripts, almost always used in non-fiction but occasionally found in experimental comedic fiction as well, such as implicit jest. Glossary, definition of words or other elements that appear in the text. In works of fiction, the glossary may contain entries about individual character or settings. Index, a list of special terms or phrases used in the book, along with the pages on which they appear so the reader can find them easily. Bibliography reference list, a comprehensive breakdown of sources cited in the work. It should follow a manual of style. Luckily, it's easy to create one using free tools like ECB, for example. This is a formal list of citation. It would go in the afterword or appendix. Here you can see a picture of the parts of the book. You can see the page, the blurb, the quote, the back cover, spine, front cover, illustrator, outer illustration, and the title of the book. Now let's go to the literary elements. A literary element refers to components of a literary work or text. For example, the character, setting, plot, theme, frame, exposition, ending, motive, title, narrative, point of view. These are technical terms for the what of a work. They are essential characteristics of all works of written and spoken narrative fiction. Setting is a literary element that allows the writer of a narrative to establish the time, location, and environment in which it takes place. Tone refers to the attitude the work takes toward the audience and subject. Exposition refers to the background plot information. Exposition can be deliberately withheld and or dumped early in the story. Motive refers to a series of recurring details that have symbolic importance in the story. Image refers to a description of something to be seen, heard, smelled, or touched. Characterization refers to how the author describes his or her characters. Protagonist is the main character in a story. He is often a hero, but sometimes he is not. He can also be the story's narrator. Antagonist is a character who stands in the way of the protagonist's movement in the story. Most of the time, this is a villain, but it doesn't have to be. Foil character intended as an thematic opposite of the main character, revealing his or her salient qualities. Theme refers to a broad idea or moral in a story. Resolution refers to a story's final on time or resolution. Conflict refers to the central problems of a text. Foreshadowing refers to when an author hints at what is to come in the narrative through a particular description or image. Symbolism refers to when a word or object is standing for something of bigger significance. Figurative language, a way of expressing oneself that does not use a word's strict or realistic meaning. Now we have allegory, which refers to a work in which almost all the characters are intended as symbols. So, this is my the end of my presentation. So if you have any question, just ask me and I'm going to answer them. Thanks for watching.